sir. May I request Director IT and Convener of CEO Meet, Dr.
Principal UG Campus, Professor Dr. Vidya Shekhri, Vice Principal UG Campus, Dr. Sumendu Bhattacharya, speakers, those who have arrived, senior faculty colleagues, the delegates from industry and academia, students. In fact, the Indian IT industry, since 90, probably when we talk about the Indian context from where this Indian IT industry started taking its shape, it has undergone a regular, consistent shift in paradigm. In the Indian IT industry, when it shifts its dimension from the computers, which we used to call mainframe systems, to now handheld devices with better processing capabilities and better storage. The applications which used to be domain specific, now the applications which are customized. A specific application to generic applications. Then there was an era where convergence of different domains, whether it was humanities, sciences, biosciences, health sciences. The youth, they started converging, coming up with different applications which were specifically meant for human beings. And now we are in an era where we are talking about exploiting the available infrastructure, technology, and the concepts to reach out or to ensure that these technological advancements and benefits reaches out to the common man of society, resulting in the digital and social empowerment. Better prepared to respond to those needs in our own role and responsibilities. With these objectives, this CEO Meet was conceptualized. This CEO Meet basically is divided into 3 sessions, and each dedicated to 3 different fields. The session 1, where we are right now, it is Indian IT industry future IT. We have an eminent panel of speakers who will be touching among the various issues and various dimensions to enrich all of us. Then there is second session, which is dedicated to integrating technology vision for India's growth. To ensure that inclusive growth in the country takes place, the technology, the advantage, the benefits reaches to the common man. That's the objective of session 2. And then session 3, it speaks about the integration of technology with a government initiative recently. This is very largely spoken after the end of session 3. So I welcome you all and thank you so much.
I request our Vice Chairman, IT's Education Group, Sri R.P. Chadha sir, for his welcome address.
Respected dignitaries on the dais, students and everyone present here, a very good morning to you all. It's my pleasure and honor to welcome the individuals who have guided the Indian economy. They have revolutionized the IT industry, not only at national level, but have made an extraordinary impact globally. We personally believe that academia and industry has to move hand in hand for socio-economic results and growth of the nation. I am sure whatever the history of relations between Temple of Learning Centers, that is institutions like ITS, and ever-growing awards of evergreen IT industry may be, but in modern times they are inseparable. The wisdom of the leading MDs, CEOs, COOs, CIOs who are part of this CEO Meet will leave a lasting and meaningful impact on all present here. Before I end my speech, I would like to share a small quote. The quote is, "Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." One man who comes to mind who showed the world that failure is not fatal. This person went through a phase in life where he could do nothing right. As a 19-year-old in 1974, he came to India to study Buddhism after dropping out from a college in 1972. As he himself said, he slept on floor of friend's room. He sold Coke bottles to get money for food. Took free meals at Mandir. Went on to become co-founder of a company in 1976, which instantly became popular. He was then forced out of the company in 1985. came back to the same company after 12 years in 1997. The company was on the verge of bankruptcy. What he did is there for all of us to see. The person I am talking about is the creator, is the man behind iPhones, iPads, iMac, iTunes, Mr. Steve Jobs. The man behind all these lovely gadgets. Himself didn't have all of this come his way with ease. We all must learn from his life and never give up. He passed away in 2011, but left behind something which till date has been irreplaceable. Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition, and success won't be far away. I'm sure when you hear from these CEOs who are present here, it would be one of a treat for you all. I wish you all the very best, and God bless all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Technologies in cloud, big data, analytics, mobility, social media, and Internet of Things have become the order of the day. Indian companies are keeping track of these trends and gearing up to change their products and services to accommodate these areas where clients are looking for more innovation to enhance delivery. The theme of this session is Indian IT Industry, Future Ahead. And in this session, we have eminent speakers. Dr. M.M. Pant sir has been the Pro-Vice Chancellor at Indira Gandhi National Open University and on the faculty at IIT Kanpur, MNIT Allahabad, and on the faculty and visiting professor at the University of Western Ontario, Canada. He has been a visiting scientist to research centers in Italy, England, Germany, and Sweden. Now I request Pant sir to address the gathering.
So I'm actually very happy to be here because the title itself is very interesting. CEO Meet. Who are the CEOs meeting? I think it's an event where the CEOs of today are meeting the CEOs of tomorrow. And I hope that everyone here is a potential CEO or somebody who will achieve the potential was once a potential CEO. I think the event has been carved out very well. I am delighted. In the morning I had an opportunity to interact with these people and I found it thoroughly enjoyable, joyful, found many new things in the always associated Polaris with software. And you find that Polaris is not only software but it is movement. And movement is difficult terrain. So what I want to share with you in the next few minutes that I have, and you know, I've been a professor is trained in not making a point in less than 50 minutes. So to be able to say something meaningful in 15 minutes is a bit of a challenge. But sitting with CEOs and being part of another thing, I have grown as a practicing lawyer, where you have to make your point in 2 minutes and get, you know, admitted, issue, order notice, meanwhile proceedings are staged or whatever. So I try to balance this two of deliberating for 1 hour and speaking briefly in a few minutes. For those of you who want to continue interacting with me, I am present on the cyberspace, so you can, I am on Twitter at mmpant, I am on email at mmpant@gmail.com, I am on WordPress at mmpant.wordpress.com, so you can get a lot of information. I am very happy to respond to emails or whatever. But let's begin at the beginning. The story to me begins, and as you can see I don't give prepared speeches, so it begins with this Saraswati Puja that we did. So we began at Sharte or whatever you want to say, Yakundeja Tushara, Dhava, etc. But to me on the other side should have been Lakshmi. And we would have said Namaste Mahamayu, Sri Vitesa Pujate Shankate Namaste Mahalakshmi Namaste, because without Lakshmi, it's incomplete. You know, in the DNA you have two strands. And together the two strands will not look at. If you look at only one strand of the DNA, you don't have life. So, why this is very important is that pre-IT times, we actually thought that there was a war between them. And Lakshmi and Saraswati didn't coexist because Saraswati belonged to the sort unquote the knowledgeable guys, and Lakshmi belonged to those who were indulging in, you know, attachment, wealth, and so on. But today, all wealth comes out of knowledge. Anybody who thinks that he can create wealth without knowledge or outside of knowledge is actually in a mistaken notion. So learning and learning at depth is very, very important. As you will see when all these people talk to you about analytics and algorithms and data and machine intelligence and Internet of Things and smart cities. It is all high-end knowledge. It is no longer the work of an ordinary mason or something which will take you. So knowledge and wealth coexist, and you need to be able to unlock the commercial value of knowledge to generate wealth and reinvest your wealth in generating more knowledge. The difference between the developing countries or the poorer countries and the developed countries is exactly this. The amount of money they have to invest in new knowledge, and then how they can reap the benefits of the new knowledge that has been gained.
Final failure is not fatal. Winston Churchill, in fact, he said something even more interesting. He said, success is in going from one failure to another without losing your enthusiasm. So don't worry about failures. Just keep looking at what are new things to do. So where do you get your directions from? I think this is something which is very important. We all need to anticipate the future. So success is when your preparation meets opportunity. Then success will happen. But how do you know where the opportunities are? And I want to share this with you that this is actually your own burden. If you think the Ministry of IT is going to be able to do anything, forget it. Most government projections and expectations in this are wrong. Not only ours, everybody else's, because things change drastically. And this is why you will need to start looking at for yourself in terms of what will happen. But I will suggest to you a few things that you can look upon. I wouldn't say depend upon, rely upon, but have them as useful. Many eminent people, including people like Albert Einstein, have said, if I have been able to see further than others, that is because I stood on the shoulders of giants. What are the giants in this case? And I want to first acknowledge I have no relationship with these companies, but McKinsey is a very good instance. McKinsey Global Institute from time to time picks up what is happening and will give you reports of that. So if you want a quick thing about what is happening in Internet of Things, go to McKinsey Global Institute report. Within that, there is a specific goal 3.4 that premature death because of non-communicable diseases will be reduced by 30% by such and such. So what I'm saying is, what you want to do is align to global goals which have been established. You know there is funding, there is support, you are not dealing with an adversary. Goal 4 is about education. It is about education for all and so on and so forth and unity. Goal 7 and 8 are very interesting. Goal 7 talks about energy and Goal 8 talks about having meaningful work for everybody. So in a sense, the UN has agreed that there should be meaningful work for all of you, and this is part of that. I'll spend some time on Goal 7. See, energy is a very interesting thing. We have the view nowadays that energy is a major, in fact, as you know, energy is an indicator of development. Let me say this because many of you might not have had the time, you're all busy doing curriculum, so you wouldn't have time for the general picture. You all know that about 300 years ago, India was the richest country in the world. And India and China were the richest. You can take any data of the GDP of countries over the time. About 300 years ago, India was the richest. India and China together were among the richest. They contributed more to GDP. And that is why everybody in Europe went to investors to create East India Company, etc. Then they will go to India, trade with India, make money, return the thing, and so on. So all those business plans were about going to India and doing some business. Obviously, nobody will fund you to go to a poor place where you will make no money. Why was it so? And why did we lose our place of eminence? Many people, including Shashi Thakur's speech recently, was about that the British exploited us and so on. But that is only part of the story. The fundamental is this, that 300 years ago, we had no source of energy other than domesticated animals and enslaved human beings. Now, the point was that those who had more human beings and more slaves and more animals had more energy and power. Put a question to yourself. So, how much manual energy does a human being do? So, what is the value of physical labor of a person? Typically, on an average activity, we would be about 100 watts of energy. A very intensive manual laborer will be about 300 to 500 watts. And people like Usain So if you take about 300 to 400 watts as the energy power and say 8-hour day, 2.4 kilowatt hour is what a person generates the energy. That's all that is the value of manual labor. And if you look at even today's billing, I don't know what is in Kejriwal has done, but in Gurgaon, my bill is like 6.75 rupees per unit. So it is about 15 rupees worth of labor that a man person has pure labor. Why this is important is that pure labor has very little value that you can do a nice calculation how much is 1 barrel of oil worth in terms of manual labor of people, you get thousands of people. So the point is, as energy became cheaper, people who had more energy per unit person became more prosperous. And this is why we saw that we became poorer and the others became richer. I did not fully comprehend, but in one of the lectures by Clayton Christensen of Harvard, he said actually the cost of capital has now become negative. I did not fully appreciate because I still belong to that where the bank does not give me money so easily, but I am told that for big businesses, businesses are actually taking money from you to accept your money. And it is a very, very interesting. So money is no longer a barrier. The only barrier is intellectual cognitive barrier. So we are coming to a time when higher education, higher learning and creating new things is actually going to be valued. There are so many examples of what has happened, but there are so many things that are going to happen which you've never seen before. I mean, you see companies with 50 people worth millions of dollars, billions of dollars. So you don't need that. So this whole idea that present people have that I will get money from abroad, FDI will come, then they will keep a factory, then they will employ people. All this is ancient history. Future history or projection or whatever you want is about individuals creating brilliant ideas. You are all connected. The whole world is your market today. You heard about digital marketing, social marketing, etc. You know that if you have something interesting, it takes on virally, you can reach out to the whole world. So it's very, very interesting time. So in conclusion, I just want to say that I think you are very, very lucky. You are very, very lucky to be born in a certain geography and period of time. Why is that geography? Imagine you were in Syria. Imagine you were in Afghanistan. Imagine you were in Greece. Imagine you were in Portugal. None of these places have the kind of future which is being expected from India. And thanks to people like Satya Nadella and so on, there is a huge expectation from the talent of India. So that whole hostility is now changed to a certain degree of acceptance.